So someone who is listening who has a traditional view of hell. Now, and that even you and I both know that that's nuanced because you might have a Dante-esque view
Yeah,
of
right.
whatever, or you might have that, well, yeah, there's hell and it's separation from God, but it's not necessarily the eternal place of fire. But somebody who's got a traditional view of it's not will you live forever, it's where you live forever, that hears this and says, well, man, that just doesn't seem right to me. And rightfully so, because typically it's hard for us to take on information
For
when we've
sure.
believed something for a long time. What would you say to someone? How would you reach across the table and explain to them that, look, I'm not a Christian for believing what I believe, and I really believe what I believe based on my study of Scripture. How do you reach across the table? Because as you said, this can be a very combative
Yeah.
issue. How do you do that? How do you reach across the table to somebody?
Yeah, I mean, in a number of ways. So one of the ways is I try to demonstrate that I toe the party line on all the other conservative evangelical beliefs that they have. So I'm a Trinitarian. I believe in the deity of Christ. I'm even a young Earth creationist, which is becoming more and more fringe in conservatives. So I believe in traditional conservative beliefs. That's number one. Number two. Oh, and by the way, I don't only believe them; I defend them. So I'm
Mm,
published in defense of the Trinity and incarnation of Christ. I'm published on in defense of Calvinism, for example. So I'm not just affirming these things that my fellow conservative evangelicals affirm. I'm also defending them. The second thing I do is I point out that my view doesn't at all contradict any of the early ecumenical creeds. When Christians from around the known world got together in those early centuries, they they defined sort of what are the boundaries of the Christian faith, and all three views of hell fall within that, are compatible with those ecumenical creeds. So that's the second thing I point out. And then the last thing I like to point out is everything, when I was examining this issue about 12 years ago, everything in me desperately wanted to hold on to the traditional view. Even to this day, I would much rather believe in the doctrine of eternal conscious punishment because as a conservative, it would make my life so much easier. But I had to bend my knee to what I saw Scripture teaching because that is my commitment.
sure.
And I find that when I demonstrate to people that it's Scripture that I am ultimately beholden to, that at least I think opens people up to be willing to fellowship with me and hear
Okay.
me out.
What would